Well, up next on 2020, the real-life wizards who power Marvel Comics. They put these guys on the top of the comic book heap. Bob Brown with those marvelous Marvel heroes. Right after this.
America's comic book champions, swinging into action, grabbing our attention, luring new readers. Bob Brown takes you behind the scenes with those marvelous Marvel heroes when 2020 continues. "25 years ago, 1961. Now there is a notable year. John Kennedy became president. Alan Shepard became the first American in space. The bikini became fashionable. And Marvel Comics made its debut. Now, for the uninformed, or those of you who were reared on Flash Gordon or Archie or Superman, you may be surprised to learn that Marvel Comics is now the king of America's comic book publishers. They've done it despite a lot of heavy competition, and they've had to keep pace with changing tastes. How did they pull it off? Well, strap yourselves in. Bob Brown is going to tell us.
Seems to hover somewhere in between the real world and those other worlds of superheroes and monstrous villains that spring from here. And it has achieved a legendary reputation for continuing to succeed in an industry whose best years occurred long ago. This is one of the creative centers, the New York City bullpen of the country's largest publisher of comic books, Marvel Comics. And this is Jim Shooter, who began writing for comic books when he was 13 years old and is now Marvel's editor-in-chief.
Okay, we're going to be done today?
Yeah.
Good. This thing is coming down to the wire. Comics started out as a schlock medium. Most of the guys who worked in comic books at the beginning changed their names so that they wouldn't become associated with comics. We have become legitimate as a medium. And most of the people who are here today in the industry came here because during the 60s, as comics came into their own, they got excited by it, and they've grown up wanting to be in comics.
You read the Marvel Age?
Yeah, where the 3 people die, well, issue 210.
With $100 million in annual sales, between 7 and 8 million issues each month, Marvel now accounts for more than half the comic book market. But for the industry in general, total sales are only 15 to 20% of what they were in the best years, the 1940s, when Americans bought nearly 1 billion copies in a year. One source of Marvel's strength and continued growth has been its diversification. The company publishes 12 of the 15 top-selling comic books, supported by regular in-house heroes such as Spider-Man and the Incredible Hulk, but also cashing in on outside trends, winning the rights to do Star Wars comics and Care Bears and G.I. Joe. Hallelujah. Publishing biographies of the Pope and Nobel Peace Prize winner Mother Teresa. Doing issue-oriented material on drug abuse or child abuse. Donating proceeds from their best-selling comic, The X-Men, to African famine relief. Tapping the teen and adult market with issues like The New Mutants and slick publications called graphic novels. And there's more.
Good, okay.
Over
Next.
on the other side of the country, Marvel is in TV and the movies.
It's a trap! We've been set up!
These people are recording the voices for what will eventually become an animated Saturday morning cartoon produced from Marvel's Hollywood offices.
Get me down, fools! Get me down!
Yeah, okay, but a little more angry. You'd be really angry.
The company is currently churning out 250 half hours of animated series as well as 3 feature-length cartoons, keeping a lot of executives occupied in weighty discussions.
You mean they're normal-looking
They're normal-looking cups.
When they get the shrinky dust, they shrink and they grow the ears.
Right.
And
Production head Margaret Lesh is presiding over a casting session for the characters perched cutely at the other end of the table, the Shrinky Dinks,